Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous, fabulous TV show. Tonya.
Welcome, everyone. I am so excited that you're back with us today. We have another incredible show ready for you because we have the Miss Candy Barone in the house. Ah! She's going to blow your socks off because, oh my gosh, this is a lady that, you know, for her and I, we have this like personality. And you're either going to love us or not, you know. And if you're watching this, you're probably going to love her as much as you love me. So I am so glad that you're back. I wanted to give you a little tip for today, like I always do. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about movement. Now, we have talked about change, getting out of fears, all of those things, but you have to create movement for yourself, especially if you're a business owner. I see a lot of people make things. They go through the whole process of making everything, websites, sales sheets, sell pages, but they never actually go out to sell it, okay? You have to move outside the box. You have to move outside of your computer. And yes, it's great that you make all of these things, but you have got to get out of your comfort zone and talk to people, because it is up to you to sell it, because that's the only way you can change people's lives. So I want you to start thinking every day, I'm going to change somebody's life today because I'm going to make a sale. All right? You can't change your life if you don't sell them your product or your service. So get out of that comfort zone. And I know it's really hard because I've been in it. I think most everyone starts out that way. But it gets easier, okay? Because you can build more confidence. The more you go out, the more people talk to you, the more people say yes, the easier it is to go out and talk, and it just kind of builds on it, but you got to get movement. And that's why I wanted Candy to be in today, because she is all about movement and projectile, I'm not going to stop until I hit the moon type of person. So how are you doing, Candy?
I am doing great. Thanks, Tonya, for having me on the show.
She is so incredible because she's not only one of the most amazing coaches you'll ever see. She does incredible presentations and everything. She's actually an MC and presenting at the Public Speakers Conference, June 14th through the 17th in San Antonio, Texas. Yay!
Super excited.
Exactly. She's also written the most adorable children's book you will ever see. I have bought tons of them for all my nieces and nephews. Anytime I find someone who's pregnant, I'm like, oh, you got to get this book. So tell us a little bit, Candy, about you and kind of how you've gotten here.
Sure. Well, first of all, I have a little nickname. I'm the Pull No Punches Accountability Powerhouse. So I am all about helping people get out of their own way. But it started with my own journey. I have about 20 years in corporate America. And after getting put in a box too much, I decided that it was time for me to break free and really step out so that I could help others do the same. So I am really about helping people say yes to themselves, how to destroy the noise that's getting in the way, but bringing all of that experience to the table to really help people do that has been incredible. And so I have kind of a diverse background that's gone all over the place in terms of corporate, but bring that to everything that I do, and it's exciting. So,
oh, it's amazing. And really, what's the name of the children's book?
Dream Star.
Dream Star, that's right. Oh my gosh, really, everyone go look for it on Amazon. You know, jump to her website because it is the most adorable, incredible story. It really is. It touches, I enjoyed it. And, you know, I'm like flipping through with my niece and she's like, oh, the Dream Star, you know. So you definitely want to check that out. So tell me, you know, you have got such a huge background from corporate to now entrepreneurism, and it all kind of seems to me about owning who you are and coming from not just the authentic place, because I think that word is kind of overused.
Sure.
But it's more about, you know, kind of getting movement in yourself, right? Kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, you're right. I have a very kind of eclectic background, everything that started from engineering through sales, through marketing and quality and HR and, business development. And so when I really looked in some of the spaces and looked at myself, it was a lot around other people's expectations or other people's rules in terms of things. And so my big thing is around movement, because everything, and I agree with you, that word authentic tends to be overplayed, and people, I think, have lost the meaning of that. For me, it's not just about authenticity, but it's about showing up and being present and then taking action and holding yourself accountable. Because I talk to people all the time around, it's great to know who you are and have a voice, but if you're not taking personal responsibility for what that means to show up, and there is a responsibility that comes with that, and there's action and accountability you need to put in place in order to sustain any kind of level of success and continue to move that forward. And I think that's a big disconnect for people. People that I've worked with, it's, I know who I am, I know what I want to do, here's my purpose, although that can be a challenge too. It's, okay, then what are you going to do about it? How are you going to show up every day to make it consistent? So it's about the discipline, the consistency, and accountability. That's where I come in and tend to push pretty hard in a way that maybe other people don't.
And it's great to have those kind of accountability partners. It's important to get people behind you and let you know that you can accomplish things, because I know there's a lot of negativity that says you can't. What are you trying to do that for? That doesn't even make any sense. But you're asking the person who has never done anything in their whole life.
Very true. Very true. And I think, people, we have this sense of entitlement anyway that goes on in our culture. And so when people realize that there's responsibility that comes, and when they have to own that, that means their choices and their decisions and what they say and what they do. Yeah, that tends to get in their way a lot of times. And I tell people I love my clients hard, but I push them as harder. And for anyone that knows me, they know I will push. And I push off the diving board, I push off the cliff. I'm going to push you, and I'm going to push you out of a comfort zone to help you embrace and take on that responsibility so that you can truly do and impact more.
Because I know for myself, as soon as I start feeling a little comfortable, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got to do something new.
Absolutely.
Because I think it really is kind of, you start hitting that nail, and then all of a sudden it stops. You've hit it in. So now you've got to go find a new nail to hit.
Well, and I think that's where you and I are different, in the fact that most people avoid change at all costs. I embrace it fully, because the only way we're going to stretch is to embrace change. And I am the kind of person that won't take one small piece. I'll take 50 all at the same time and make it this huge monumental kind of leap of faith, jump off the cliff type change that scares me. I tell people all the time, if it doesn't scare you, what's the point? And so if it's not something that gives you a little bit of the butterflies, it's how do you look at that and take that as a fuel to create something versus let it be an anxiety and worry and things that shut you down. It's how do you channel that and actually use that as something that's a driver to move you forward.
And don't you find that a lot of people, they're always trying to find that comfort zone again, right? And I just talking to a lady the other day, and she had just launched her business. I helped her create this whole platform. She actually had clients coming to her and signing up for her stuff. And every time I talked to her, I could tell she was trying to find that new, I'm trying to figure out where my comfort is. I'm trying to settle back into something instead of continuing to push forward. I'm like, why would you ever go backwards?
Right. Right. Well, because people find that to be safe. In fact, one of the things that I work with my clients is, because, and you know this, but maybe everybody else doesn't, I'm one of those type A++ personalities that's kind of a little extreme, a little bit of a recovering perfectionist and control freak. And so I like to muscle things. I like to push forward. But what happens is people step back in a lot of times, because what they keep, especially those type A's, they'll keep pushing forward, and yet they haven't learned how to release the former version of themselves, or the former anchor, or the former. And so when it gets tough again, instead of recognizing that they've moved forward and have new strategies, they go back to that comfort zone or that security blanket, and then they get doubly trapped or completely shut down, because it's like a force that comes slamming at them instead of taking the time. And so with my clients, I actually have them take time to release that former version of who they were, because now they've moved into another space where that doesn't serve. And so there's a process around that, which I think some people either are moving too fast and get through it and forget about it, or it scares them, and so they just keep going back and grabbing that blanket and curling up in the fetal position and are like, I don't want any more. That's enough, kind of thing. So
yeah, and I really look at, there's so many people that they're looking for the excuse that it won't work.
Oh yeah.
See, I told you it wasn't going to work, Tonya. I'm like,
right. Well, it's like, what's the quote or the picture that's on Facebook? A lot of times it says, what if I fail? And it's like, oh, but darling, what if you fly? People are more afraid of the success because there's a greater responsibility for every level of success that you have. And I truly think it's the responsibility piece. But I will challenge most people that say they're afraid of failing. It's usually more of a fear of success. It's that stepping into your most magnificent light kind of thing that I think shuts them down more than the failure itself.
Oh, absolutely. And when they look at that whole, oh my gosh, I just did something and they had a result from it. Then they're perfectionist and what they thought it was going to be isn't stepping up to that level. Then they look at everything else that happened is a failure. So if they do a webinar and they got, 15 people or 20 people on, that was a huge success in almost everybody's eyes. But to them,
Right.
They were expecting 100. So that was a complete disaster.
Right. Yeah, people miss the opportunities when they show up because they're so hell-bent on some factor of how they've already identified their expectation or how they thought it was going to look, instead of realizing, and it's the thing we talk about this sometimes when, speakers get upset when 3 people show up and they expected 20.
Yeah.
And it's like those 3 people are the right 3 people that showed up. And now you have the opportunity to get very intimate and engage with them. And I will tell you, my conversion factors sometimes in those smaller spaces are far higher simply because you were now able to go one-on-one and be more intimate. Every one of those happens as they're supposed to. And when people acknowledge that and recognize the opportunity, it could change the game for them. And that's part of what, I do to help them change that mindset and change that thinking, that drop those expectations and learn to see the opportunity for what it is, because it's probably more powerful than what you thought it was going to originally be.
Oh, yeah. And, a lot of times people, they also go in with expectations that just aren't realistic. It is about developing, growing. You just don't start, hitting a golf ball and suddenly you're an expert at golf. Right. You have to develop those skills. And it's the same thing in business and life and speaking, whatever it is.
Very true. Yeah, I love the people that think they're going to go from 0 to 7 figures in the matter of like 30 days. It's like, okay, that may happen once in a, if you came up with the most brilliant idea that just happens to be that once in a lifetime, but the likelihood of that happening, because first of all, where your mindset is when you start and what it takes to grow 7, 8 figures is very different. And until you can understand and get traction and momentum there, you're going to have a really hard time changing that mindset and changing that belief to get to a place where you're practicing different discipline and you've got different levels of acting, as somebody that's bringing that kind of income in. That's not going to happen overnight. And it amazes me when people think they're going to be, these rock stars. And it's like, okay, there's spaces where that works now, but that's not necessarily over here. So let's bring some reality into the situation.
I know. And I think it's a lot of people are setting themselves up for failure. They're already expecting to fail just from the get-go. And it's so sad, and a lot of people have a really hard time with the concept that, because I know I did, well, why would anyone want to listen to me? Why would anyone want to hire me? Why would anybody spend $100 to, coach with me, and things like that?
Well, and honestly, that is one of the things that I hit on probably in every talk, everything, because it's, as I talk about the noise, I break it down into an acronym, but that's the negative filters, the negative self-talk that we put out there. And those filters, I tell people, they create a barrier in terms of how people can connect with you, engage with you. You're absolutely shutting down a conduit, because at the end of the day, you don't know who, you don't know how, and you don't know to what level you can affect, influence, or impact another person simply by showing up. And there's that authenticity. If you really talk about it at that level, it's when you choose to let go of that ego type negative noise that's in your head, and you realize that you have a message. Because there's that adage of, if not you, then who? And if I'm not stepping up, who didn't? And I always ask people, what's the opportunity cost?
Yeah.
Who didn't you serve today because you allowed yourself to get into your whatever chatter that's going on between the left and the right ear? Because you don't know who you're going to impact and to what level until you step out and just put it out there. And we don't realize we have that opportunity cost all the time. And if you really ask yourself, who didn't I serve today because I let my nonsense get in the way? I don't know. That's usually enough for me to go, okay, enough. It's time to do something different, because there's people that needed something or that could have served me that I didn't give permission to do that back.
Absolutely. And a lot of times people are so stuck in their head because, as a speaker, what usually gets people, kind of flustered is, oh my gosh, they're all looking at me. They're all checking out my nose. They're all checking out my teeth. They're all going to look at and judge me. And they don't care. They really don't care who you are. They want to see what's in it for them. What kind of information are you going to give to them that day? They could care less about you. And for us, we get so stuck in our own head thinking it's all about us and not about our audience, about serving others, that we lose a lot of opportunity out there.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I will say that the videos, I do videos almost every day, but there are the videos where I look like what I would call a hot mess. I've got a baseball hat on, I've got no makeup, but I have to have something that popped into my head that I want to make sure is a message it carries, tends to get the most communication, because people don't care that I look like a quote hot mess. They care about the message that I'm bringing and how it connected with something that they needed right then and there. And I will get someone that'll message me and go, oh my God, that was exactly the message I needed to hear. Wow, thank you. And they're not going, wow, nice that you showed up without wearing makeup and a baseball hat and whatnot. They don't care. They don't care about that. But we get so caught up in that we forget that we have something much more powerful to connect with them. And that's our message. That's impact. That's value. It's much bigger than us. And we need to get out of our own way as far as that's concerned.
Well, and I'm really trying to get across to people lately, because they want, I can't do a TV show yet because I don't have the studio look, or I don't have the perfect lighting or the perfect sound or whatever it is. I'm like, stop. People aren't caring anymore. Used to, they might have, but I don't even really think they did that much back then either. They want to hear who you are and how are you going to help them? What kind of information can you give them that day,
Right. Well, and when you show up too perfect, people can't relate to it. So we were talking about my lighting could be better today, whatnot, great. But the thing is when you get it all perfect and you're perfectly poised and polished and whatnot, then you become unrelatable and people go, that's great. You're so over here. That's nowhere near the reality of what I'm facing. So that's great that you can talk about that, but I can't relate. You're at a celebrity status. You're this or you're whatever. Yeah, of course that makes sense for you, but how am I going to apply it to me? Because I don't see the connection. I don't see the similarities. I don't see anything that shows up. But when you show up and you're real and you might have the hair out of place or the lighting's not right or the background doesn't look, who cares? Because people are going to say, wow, that's one of my people speaking to me and I get it. And wow, she can do it, so can I. And that's more what I care about than whether or not I show up looking perfectly poised. Because most of the time that's not going to happen.
Me too. And people are like, you're going to either love this or not. Go away if you don't. I was talking
exactly.
like, when I speak, I never say and I always am clear, make sure I go through all of my points and the systematic respect. And I'm like, oh,
right.
Go away.
I guarantee when I speak, no one is counting how many times I've said That is the last thing that's leaving an impression on them. I know that without a doubt.
I mean, Oh, okay, so there's things that you need to clean up. I was talking to another lady, and we were talking about how a lot of times we're like, right, 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 right. So sometimes we do overuse a word sometimes,
Sure.
but really, is it what people are really
Right.
judging? They're really not. They're just
Absolutely.
saying, wow, I really like this person, or, well, I really don't like this person, So get over it.
Amen. Yes. I was going to say, people are either going to connect with you if you don't. And I tell people, and you've heard me say this, you're either in Camp Candy or you're not. And I don't really care. Because if you're not, I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to say, good luck. You know where to find me if that changes. And I'm going to go hang out with my peeps because they know how I think. I know how they think. We have a blast. And Camp Candy is a pretty powerful place to be. So if you want to be here, great. But if you don't, then, and I love when people show up to talks and they'll say things like, that speaker wasn't for me. And I've said this too, then get up. Do something more intentional. If I'm not for you, by all means, I will applaud somebody, I swear, when they stand up in one of my presentations and they're like, I'm sorry, you're not for me. I'm going to be like, good. Thank you for going to do something that's more intentional. Although I would argue you could probably still pull something of value, but that's a different point. Well, if you're staying hostage, if you're staying prisoner, when you have a choice you can make, that's the most infuriating thing. Don't complain about it when you had a choice to get up out of that chair. If I'm too much for you, turn off this channel, leave my presentation, do whatever. But then don't complain about it later and say, she was crazy and she was this. I didn't hold you hostage. That drives me absolutely crazy because we shift that power constantly.
Well, there was a guy who called me the other day, and he was so excited with this other gentleman to start up a group for, me in another state and for the Public Speakers Association. Well, the one guy was just so adorable. We were just like clicking in and we're having a great time and everything. The other guy was like, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you just said. What did you say? What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. And I mean, just with like, we just weren't clicking, right? And then all of a sudden he goes, would you stop laughing? This is a serious moment. I am trying to understand you and you're laughing. And I'm like, which made me laugh even more, of course. I was like, oh, dude, if this doesn't work for you, my organization is definitely not going to work for you.
Absolutely. I dated a guy who told me I made him anxious. And finally, about the third time, and I was being, believe it or not, my calm self. And I finally looked at him and I said, I'm going to cut your losses. And he's like, what? And I said, if this makes you anxious and nervous, you haven't even seen me fully dialed up. I'm just going to tell you, I already see the outcome of what's going to happen. So I'm going to help you right now cut your losses. And he's like, so that's it. I'm like, that's kind of it. Because I am who I am and I show up and I'm big and I'm bright and I'm loud. And you either that works for you or it doesn't.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that.
It was so cute because the other gentleman was trying to get the other guy to understand. I'm like, it's okay. Some people just don't need to be around. This organization just doesn't work for him. He just needs to go someplace else. And it's okay.
It is okay. That's the thing that right there, those words are some of the most powerful words we have when it relates to anything in our business, to the people we don't serve. It's okay. I'm okay. If you can just tell yourself, wow, it's really okay. It's okay that I'm not for everybody. It's okay that this is happening in my business. It's okay that whatever, it's okay. It is okay.
It really is. Now, I know you have an amazing offer you're going to give everybody today. What is that?
I do have an amazing offer because I am all about people getting out of their own way to destroy the noise. I actually have a chapter of my first book that is available in PDF that I will offer that chapter for free, which is all about destroy the noise and stop shooting on yourself, so that if people email me at candybarone@youempowered with a D strong.com, I will be happy to send them a copy of that chapter so that they can have some strategies to get out of their own way.
Perfect. So Candy Barone, and that's bar one.
Correct.
Spell it out.
And Candy with a Y, no I, hearts, cutesy dots, whatever.
At you, is that YOU or just a U?
YOU, empowered with a D, strong.com.
Perfect. So make sure you're taking advantage of that because you do not want to miss that. Wow. And Candy's going to be at the conference with me. So not only are you going to get to say hi to us, but you'll probably get a hug and you're going to learn so much. So Candy's our MC for the event. So she'll be there the whole time. Plus she's giving a great presentation and training. What are you training everybody on?
I am going to be training them on how to get booked at a corporate level. So how to take your business, if you want to make some money in your business, corporate bookings and corporate opportunities are a great way to do that. And I'm going to share some strategies on what to do.
So you do not want to miss that. Plus, we're going to have a blast anyways. So it's June 14th through the 17th in San Antonio, Texas. We are not recording this because every one of these trainings from every one of the amazing presenters that are all 6- and 7-figure speakers anyways is worth between $500 and $2,500, sometimes even more than that. So because they're giving everybody real training, they're not wanting us to just record it. So you have to be there live. Plus, we have people coming to actually book speakers. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not even close to being at that level, it's okay. You don't have to actually accept anything. But if you want to get out of your comfort zone, you say yes always. And but you get to really be there and be connected to your next JV partner, your collaborators, your next best friend. You know, it's about who you know, not what you know a lot of times. So it's about connecting to these amazing people. And you actually get to sit and you actually get to talk to people. Plus, you get a free VIP ticket right now. So if you take advantage of it right now, we have VIP tickets still included when you sign up. Plus, you get $100 off. I mean, hello. So put in Tonya's TV show in the coupon code, and you could take $100 off right off the top, okay? So we want you to be there. It'll change your life. We had a blast last year, and I was like, oh, Candy, I definitely want you to be an MC. She's an amazing, amazing speaker, so you will love her. So I'm so excited. So thank y'all all. To get to that, go to Public Speakers with an S, conference.com. Public Speakers with an S, conference.com, and you can find all the details there. All right, so we want to see you there. So thank you, Candy, for being on. I definitely want you to come back on soon.
Oh, thank you so much, Tonya. I would love to. This has been a blast. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.